What's up YouTube? Welcome to today's video where we are going to discuss how to attract and get the hottest women. I'm talking like the 8s, the 9s, the 10s that secretly, or maybe not so secretly, all of us men want. Now, you gotta stay with me till the end because I'm gonna break this video into two different sections and it's crucial that you understand both parts of this. And at the end, I'm gonna leave you with a gift that's gonna help you to attract and retain these women. So let's get into it without further delay. Now, as I said, I'm gonna break this into two different sections. The first part I wanna break it into is talking about sexual market value and how the 8s, 9s, and 10s, you need to equate your value as a man to that, right? Like women always want to date up, meaning that they're hypergamous by nature, which means that women prefer to select the highest value man that they can get. So think about this logically. The hotter, more attractive she is, even most of the time, the younger, more, attractive she is, the more she can attract, right? Women at 23, 24 years old, in the sweet spot of their femininity, in the sweet spot of their attractiveness, they can draw in tons of different options of men, right? So really what you have to do is the hotter woman that we're talking about, so if she's a 7 versus a 10, the 10 is gonna be able to attract more options. And what that means is she's gonna have more to pick from. So the question really becomes, well, how do you become the man that is matching onto that, okay? Because think about it. Do you not think that a woman that's a 10 wants a 10 in a man as well, right? Yeah. Every woman, for that matter, wants a 10 of a man. And that 10 of a man could range from things like, career and status or, drive and motivation, all the way to physique, to looks, to status, all these different, things that women prefer in men. So really the secret here is twofold. And I'm going to talk about the first part of this, which is building yourself into that kind of man that is a 10 in your own right. Okay. And that's really what the difference is between a man and a woman. See, as a man, we can control a lot of the aspects of what makes us attractive to women. Okay. Yeah. You can't control how tall you are. You can't control, your facial structure, things like that, but you can control your grooming. You can control your hair. You can control your physique. You can control how well you build your skills, how much you develop your mindset, you develop your mission, your purpose, all these different things, okay? And that's really important to understand that. So what you have to do, regardless of attracting women, but as a man in general, and it actually helps you with women, is to build yourself as a man, right? You wanna build yourself into that 10, right? The more you build yourself as a man, the more options you then have as a man because your sexual market value is increasing. Think about it like this. You want to attract this woman who's an 8, 9, or 10. Well, now you need to build yourself into being that 8, 9, or 10. Well, how do you do that? Okay, I'm gonna break it into 3 separate categories here because it'll be easier to understand that way. Actually, I'll say 4 for that matter. We'll break this into 4 categories. The first one's building your body, okay? And when I say build your body, I'm talking like you go to the gym, you train hard 4 to 5 days per week, you eat the right foods to recover and to build the physique that you want, to build that strength. You're pushing yourself in the gym. You also regulate your hormones, like you have optimized testosterone levels, whether you do that naturally or through TRT, that's up to you. You build that out, you eat correctly, and you regulate your nervous system. You push and build resilience. You do the things like heat exposure in the sauna, cold exposure with cold showers, or, cold plunges, whatever it is, you build your body. That's the first thing. And the other parts of the body, like I talked about, grooming, hair, your clothing and stuff. I don't really talk about that a lot on this channel because I actually don't think it's as important, to be completely honest with you. Like, I don't really have the best style. I don't go like out of my way to have crazy style, but I have no problem attracting attractive women. And I think it's mainly because of the things I'm going to talk about. And I've seen this with other men that I've coached and worked with as well. But style is definitely important, but a different piece of this, okay? Number 2 is your mindset. Now, in order to build your body, you have to have discipline. You have to have focus. You have to have emotional control. You need to have mental resilience, okay? So when you build your body, you will inevitably develop some of this. Now, the right mindset really matters because the way you walk in life determines your ability to get things. If you walk with a scarcity mindset, meaning you feel like, oh my God, I need this woman specifically because if I don't get her, everything goes to hell. That's a scarcity mindset. A mindset of abundance is knowing that you put this effort into building yourself as a man, you're increasing your sexual market value. And with that, now you're also going to be able to attract more attractive women. So if it doesn't work with this specific woman in front of you, you don't really care because you have 10 other women behind her that are just as attractive. That is the mindset you must walk with. And the that you can do that is by building yourself into being the highest value man that you can, which is doing the things that I'm talking about right here. Now, what you'll find as you build your motivation, Now, what you'll find as you build yourself as a man, you optimize your body, you optimize your mindset, that you naturally have more drive and ambition. And what this will do is open up the next part of this, which is developing your mission in life, your purpose, and building your spirit is what I like to call this, right? This is having the legacy focus. This is having the mission-oriented focus in life. When you build yourself in your body and your mindset, this develops you to have a more clear direction with your life, because now you're not stuck in survival mode. You're actually able to thrive in life. And this opens you up to say, okay, what do I want out of this one life I have? Having a mission and purpose is extremely attractive to women. One of the most unattractive things to women is when they meet you and they go, so what do you want in life? Like, what's your goals? And you're like, well, I work a 9-to-5 job and that's about it. Women are not gonna love that, okay? They're not gonna love that. So you gotta build yourself as a man. You gotta lean into your mission and your purpose in life, and building that spirit, that divine masculine calling in you, which I make other videos about, and you should definitely dig into learning more about, because that dictates everything else I'm talking about here. Now, the fourth thing is going to be building your skills that are in line with that mission and purpose in life, right? So like, if you want to be a doctor, you obviously have to go to medical school and learn the tools of the trade or whatever, to be a surgeon or to be a family doctor, whatever it is that you want, right? That's a very easy thing to understand. Now, if you want to be a professional musician, let's say you're a guitarist, you have to build your skills with guitar, whatever, right? Because it's not enough just to have that direction in life. You also have to be building the things that go in line with it, right? So you need to actually build yourself in those capacities in the way that I'm talking about. And that's what's really important, is you actually build yourself in alignment with that, okay? So those four things, like I said, building your body, building your mindset, building your life direction and mission, and actually building the skills and the competency, I would say, that goes with that. Now, as I said, I was gonna break this video into two different segments. And the second half of this, what I wanna talk about is the behavioral or the actual strategic way you have to get these women, okay? Because if you think about this just from the mindset standpoint that I was talking about when I was saying about having a mindset of abundance versus a mindset of scarcity, this actually, if you follow that and you truly think abundantly about yourself, which you have to build yourself to think that way, right? You'll see how this plays out, okay? And it happens pretty organically, but let's talk about strategically how this works. Now, you need to put yourself into the standpoint of what it's like to be a woman that's an 8, 9, or a 10, okay? So as I said before, women that are this attractive, they have tons of different options because they're super attractive. So they just organically, by existence, walking in the world, on dating apps, they go into work, they go into the gym, they go into school, wherever they are, right? If they're in college, if they're out of college, it doesn't matter. They have constantly men pursuing them. They can open up their phone on Instagram or Tinder or Hinge or whatever, and they have tons of options to choose from. And what you need to understand is, and you better not be the kind of guy that's doing this kind of stuff, but those women are constantly getting men simping for them. Meaning, like, these guys are basically begging for their attention. They're trying to get them on dates. They're trying to get their attention from them, okay? So you have to think about the psychology of this from that kind of woman. She constantly is receiving attention. So when you then put yourself, even if you build yourself into the 8, 9, or 10 I was talking about, which takes years, by the way, and that's totally fine. You need to embrace the long arc of your life. There's nothing wrong with that. But even when you do that, okay, let's say you are that man already, you need to differentiate yourself in this pool of attention that she has, okay? So if you have built yourself into being your own 8, 9, or 10, you will do this organically because she's going to be more drawn to you naturally. So that solves like 70% of this. But the other 30% is really, really crucial to understand, okay? In the attention economy that women have, you have to separate yourself, as I said. So how do you separate yourself? Well, you need to do everything backwards that you actually think works, okay? Because as men, we think like, all right, if I invest more effort into building my body, I get a better return. If I invest more into learning, I get more knowledge. If I invest into, playing my instrument or like perfecting my craft as a basketball player, whatever, it doesn't really matter what I'm talking about. As a painter, I don't really care. An engineer, you get my point. You get more return on your investment, right? So we think naturally, well, if I give this woman more effort, especially up front, that's going to draw her to me more. But what happens when you do this? You just blend in with all the other guys. Now, you're not going to blend in completely because you have built yourself and you're one of the more attractive men. But remember, a 10 or a 9 or an 8, she has a bunch of other 8, 9s, or 10s in terms of men in her inbox, hitting her up, talking to her at the coffee shop, wherever, okay? So it's really important to understand that. So then that begs the question of like, okay, well, how do you actually then get in through this force? Well, the first thing is you don't chase. That's the most important thing. If I can leave you with one part of this behaviorally, and this is the case for everything in life, this is exactly what I teach inside of my free training that I'm about to tell you about, is you differentiate yourself by being a man by not chasing her, because all these other guys are chasing her. So what does it look like when you're chasing her? Well, you're doing what I said. You blow up her DMs, you blow up her texts, you blow her up on Snapchat. You are, let's say this is a girl you see at the gym pretty regularly, because this is a thing I run into a lot. Every time you see her, you go up, you talk to her for 20 minutes, you waste your time on conversation with her, right? When in reality, you know the guy that she thinks about the most, it's not the guy that's hitting her up all the time. It's the guy that gives her some attention. Like, let's say in the gym, you go up, you're like, hey, what's up? How's your day going? Blah, blah, blah. Okay, great. Have a great workout. Walk away. That's the guy she's thinking about. She's not thinking about the guy when she leaves the gym. She's not thinking about the guy that's hitting her up 24/7, that's talking to her every time she's in there. So sometimes when you go in the gym, you shouldn't even talk to her, right? Sometimes you shouldn't even interact with her. And it's not because you're playing a game. It's because you're focused on doing the thing I was talking about, which is building your body, right? To make you more attractive to not just her, but to everybody, and to feel better about yourself, build more confidence, etc. Okay? So it's not about playing games. It's just you don't play the game. You understand what I'm saying? I had this happen recently with a girl I was out with. This was the second time I was out with her. I went to a concert with her, and she was overlooking my phone, and one of my buddies from Florida texted me and was like, hey man, I've been using your tactics with women. It's been working really well. And she looked at the phone. This is the second time I was out with her. She's like, what do you mean tactics? And I was like, well, there is no tactics. And she's like, well, then what is he talking about? And I basically said, well, the thing is, I don't play the game as a man. And she goes, well, clearly not, because you're not trying any game with me. And I said, yeah, that's the point, right? I don't need to, because here's the thing. I know in that situation, if that girl doesn't like who I am, doesn't like me, or doesn't, vibe with me, I don't really care, because I can go create that same opportunity with the same attractiveness as her or better in literally 24 hours, right? When you get yourself to that point as a man, that's when you are unable, or I should say, she can't break you in that capacity, because you're now able to understand your ability to attract as a man when you've built yourself, right? Now, I'm 32. I've been doing this stuff, building myself for like 12, 14 years now, right? I started my self-improvement journey when I was 18 years old. So everything I've done with building myself physically, mentally, spiritually, my business, my band, bodybuilding, everything, that stuff is resulting in me being able to do that now, okay? So again, it pays off over the long term. Now, you have to separate yourself, like I said. So to bring this all home, the things you need to do here are build your mind, your body, your mission and purpose in life, and your craft with those things, right? You need to actually do something about that mission, vision, and legacy focus you have. Now, you also need to separate yourself in the attention economy with that woman. As I told you at the beginning of this video, I was gonna leave you with something at the end here. I built a free training where I teach you exactly the steps you need to do to build your body, your mind, your mission, your purpose in life, even understanding women at a deeper level than I'm explaining here, and how to get what you want in your career, business life, or otherwise, okay? You go down to the bio, the description, excuse me, click the link down there, or go click it in my channel description. Take that free training. You will be surprised how much it helps you to understand all this, and how much you'll be able to build yourself as a man to attract what you want in life, okay? Make sure you subscribe. I'm putting videos out like this constantly to help you build yourself as a man. I will see you in the next video. Have a great day or night, no matter whenever you're watching this.